Hi everyone, my name is Meghan King. I am reporting on behalf of Florida Copwatch. Today I went down to Ocala's City Hall to speak with Mayor Guinn and City Councilwoman Mary Sue Rich regarding the Saggy Pants Law, also known as Ordinance 1591 to 1599. Get started. All right. What are your duties as Mayor of Ocala?
Well, they're varied, but the main duty I've got is I oversee them not technically, but in the charter it says I'm in charge of and have control over the police department. So everybody that works with the police department, sworn and non-sworn, work under me, but the chief of police is the chief, and they all answer to him, and then he answers to me. And how that works is, like, I will go out and find a chief, like when this chief that was here before Chief Graham, he resigned, and so it was my responsibility as the new mayor to go out and find a new chief of police. So I find that person, bring that person to city council, and then I nominate that person, and they vote that person in. So if they didn't vote him in, I would just keep coming back and, with somebody other new, or try to change their votes and keep bringing him back. But it worked out. Actually, we had 4 city council members at the time because one of them had been taken out of office because he didn't live in the correct district he was supposed to have lived in when he was elected. So he was that. So it only had 4. Normally we have 5 council members. So 3 out of the 4, are approved for Chief Graham, and so. But that's kind of my duties, and I do, ceremonial things, cut ribbons, and just act as the ceremonial head of, the city. Do things like that.
Great, wonderful. And what are your views on Ordinance Sections 1591 to 1599, also known as the Sagging Pants Law?
Yeah, I had it the other day. I pulled it out. I don't think I've got it on my desk right now. But here's my problem with it. One of the things it talked about doing was if we told people to pull their pants up, they would respect themselves more. I don't think it's the job of government to make people respect themselves. I mean, that's here. Mm-hmm. Pulling your pants up is not going to, do it. Granted, when people get dressed up and, something nice, they usually, feel better about themselves or something like that. Like if you went to a wedding and, you put a suit on, you're like, oh, I look, real nice and everything. But that's not our job as to, what would happen if all of a sudden we said, we don't want people to wear shirts with no sleeves because I don't want to see people's underarms. Mm-hmm. I think that's offensive.
It's the same concept there.
Sure it is.
Wonderful.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's my viewpoint of it. I don't think government needs to get into the business of telling people, what they should wear. Obviously, we have regulations on nudity and things like that. Sure. That's a given. But as long as I'm covered up and my pants are, if some of my underwear is showing, I'm covered up.
Right.
And the fact that it's 2 inches instead of 3 or 1 3/4, and it's that for a reason. Specific. Well, as far as it being enforceable, well, what if my pants are only 1.5 inches, not 2 inches below my natural waistline, whatever your natural waistline is. I'm not sure what that is. Right. So as far as the police are concerned, I think we'd ever arrest anybody for it. It may just be, hey, pull your pants up, and that's that. So.
Great, yeah. Wonderful. Now, as mayor, I'm sure this is a question a lot of people are asking, considering, and that's why I kind of had you explain what your duties are as
right.
mayor, because I think that needs to be more commonly understood.
Right.
Is there anything that you could have done to prevent the passing of this ordinance?
Well, there's one of my duties is we have a council manager form of government, not a strong mayor form of government like a lot of cities. A lot of larger cities have, I shouldn't say a lot of cities, but I can veto ordinances. They can be overridden by a 4/5 vote. And what typically happens is at the end of the meeting, the ordinances that are done on the second and final reading are printed, and the clerk will bring them to me, and I'll sign them, I'll sign my name, and there's a box or letters, approve or not approve. I'll circle that and date it. Well, there was a stack of them that were given to me, and I started signing them, and then I gave them back to the clerk and said, "Oh, was the Saggy Pants ordinance in here?" And she said, "Yeah, you signed that." So, okay. And so then I went ahead and approved it. And so then the other day I went to the clerk and said, "Can I undo what I did?" And we determined that I couldn't. But what it did was I went ahead and signed a veto of the ordinance and to just hold on to it until the legal research is done as to whether I can or I can't, because it had to be done in a 10-day window. So I wanted to beat the 10-day window just in case they came back and said, "You know what? You're right. You could have done it, but you know what? You didn't sign it, and had you have done that, you could have vetoed it." So it's not vetoed. It's in place. As soon as I signed it, it became law. But it will, I'm sure, be heavily discussed at council Tuesday night on August the 5th, and would encourage probably people that are opposed to it to come and voice their views. One of the great things about this council body we have is every item on that agenda, we ask for public comment. Every item. When we read it, we'll go, is there any public comment? And then we'll come back to council, talk about it, and then we'll say, is there any further public comment? Give people a chance to talk. I can't tell you how many times, and I've been doing this for 15 years, that someone will come to council and say, "You know what, I don't like this ordinance, here's why. A better idea might be," and they'll tell us some idea that they may have, and we'll sit there and go, "You know what, it's a pretty good idea, I really didn't think about that." And it will completely change what we had thought we were going to do. So that's why I would encourage people to come to public meetings and voice their opinion, because you never know what you might say that might cause governmental body, county commission, whoever it might be, city council, to change, what they're thinking of. And always come with a solution, and do it respectfully and things like that, and that goes a long, long ways.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah. And that somewhat leads into the next question. And you said that meeting's Tuesday night, August 5th.
Yeah, 4 o'clock, City Hall right here.
Okay, great. Now, has the City Council, to your knowledge, made any attempt to educate the public on the cons of sagging pants before making it law?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
No.
All right, great.
Not that I'm aware.
I wasn't that could have been a point where somebody could have stepped in and said, "Hey, this is a better idea."
Yeah, I had asked, and if you read the article in the paper, I asked a number of questions about, well, what does it mean if you do this, and what does this mean, and how does this work? And it's a rather short, and if you've read the ordinance, it's a rather short ordinance. So, and it's only on city property, sidewalks, streets, public parks, et cetera, et cetera. So, so if you're on the sidewalk and the police officer sees you, I guess, just step off the sidewalk and get on the grass. And I don't know.
Yeah.
At that point in time, they've already seen you. So
run inside the closest business.
But yeah, it's just, I just don't think it's government's role, and I just don't think it's really enforceable. And it's just, but the thing about it is, though, whether I agree with it or not, if a majority of council votes on something, we're all on the same page and we all support it, and we move forward.
Right. Yeah.
Until council changes its mind. And like I said, someone may come and make some comments, and they might go, "You know what, we need to rethink this, and let's get rid of it," or whatever it may be, which can be done by council.
Do you think that would help in your efforts to not so much veto it, but maybe to amend it, for somebody to come and make a suggestion of, "Hey, you guys were kind of rash in this decision, even though it's been in the works since 2009 for some people."
Yeah.
But if somebody were to step in and say, "Could we try this instead before you start strictly enforcing this ordinance?"
Yeah, you could, yeah. An ordinance can be amended, it can be rescinded, in this case, council would rescind it. Amending it, I'm not sure really, there's not that much to amend.
Right, it's so short and small.
Yeah, it's basically if you're 2 inches, below your natural waistline, and you're on public property and their skin showing, you're in violation of it. And I wish I had the ordinance, but the ordinance, if I can remember it, says any article of clothing that touches the skin and is in between a garment that's outerwear. So like in this instance right here, that's how they define underwear. Like this is underwear. It's not underwear. It's a dress shirt.
Right.
But according to that law, it's underwear.
Oh my goodness.
There's my natural skin. Here's the article, and here's the outerwear,
Right.
and it's in between that.
Wow.
So this is underwear, but it's really not.
That's ludicrous.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that goes above and beyond. So just to kind of enlighten others, of course, this law has not been the main focus of City Council and your office.
No.
What other issues has your office and City Council been working on as of recent?
Oh, wow. It's pretty serious stuff. This morning I just left a homicide where there was a young man, 19-year-old, that was murdered, and an apartment that was set on fire. So things like that, drugs, drug activity. Yesterday we went to a place to serve a warrant on a drug dealer that had been in prison 4 times, just got out on April 16th, and we arrested him for the same thing he just got out of, and he served 4 terms in prison, Department of Corrections.
Wow.
So we're working on things like that.
Yeah, pretty serious matters.
Very serious
very
matters,
serious
trying to keep the city safe and
Of course,
deal with
of
a
course.
lot of those issues.
Well, it's definitely appreciated, that's for sure. I live in city limits myself,
Okay.
so
Right.
it's certainly appreciated. Now, can you think of any other measures that could have been taken to reduce the amount of sagging pants in the city before a law was the solution?
Yeah, there's a gentleman that was involved in middle school here, great principal, and was just a really good guy, still is. But I asked him about the ordinance, and he was very involved in West Ocala and everything. I said, "What do you think of the ordinance?" He said, "Well," he said, "I like it." He said, "Because it makes the kids respect themselves, and we tell them to pull their pants up." But he was the principal of a middle school. I get that in a middle school or a school. It's a dress code, and it's school policy. Girls can't wear their skirts real short and this, that, and the other. I get all that, and he can do that.
Right.
He's not the government. You're going to school, and there's a certain dress code that you have, and so he can tell them, and he can take them aside and talk to them and go, "Hey, John, have some respect, and you're better than that, and you look real nice before you can do all that." So I think maybe one of the things we may want to do is just maybe have a community meeting and have maybe a motivational speaker come in and talk about, you can do these things. You don't have to dress like that, and here are some opportunities in your life, and and just make them feel better about themselves and kind of get them on the right path. Yeah.
Okay, perhaps Mr. Guinn will be on board with that, right?
Yeah.
He was my dean when I was at Howard
Yeah.
Middle, so I'm very
Oh,
familiar
you were
with
at Howard
him.
Middle. Well, and Scott Hackmeyer is the gentleman I was talking about.
Oh, wonderful!
Yeah,
Yes, he was
Scott-
great about
Yeah,
that.
Scott's been very involved in Howard and West Ocala.
Both of them.
Both of them.
Make a team effort to go out there and do it, because I know when I was there, it did make a difference.
Sure.
At least in my view. They had
Well, obviously
little
it
ropes
worked
they would
more well
tie.
for you.
Right, exactly. So not everybody's going to be receptive to it, but even, the adults, I noticed a lot of the articles focused on the worry that it's impacting the children.
Right.
If their parents sag their pants, they're going to
Sure.
grow up and sag their pants and
Sure.
think it's okay to rebel in school
Right.
and all of that stuff. So hopefully that'll help in that aspect, but maybe educating these adults of, do you really want your child to grow up and work the kind of job you're working, or do you want them to be better?
Right.
Do you want them
Exactly.
to be better than that? Now, in your interview with ABC News regarding this matter, it can be somewhat assumed that it's more of an opinion-based law. I don't know, do you agree with that assumption, that you feel it's more opinion-based?
Well, I think based on what Councilwoman Rich was saying, she said it offended her.
Yeah.
It was offensive. I think that was a word. Do you have the article?
I don't have
I
it
can't
with me,
remember
so
what it
yeah. I think she
said.
did
but
say
I think
it was offensive.
offensive, I think, was the word. I mean, I could walk down the street and see different outfits on people that I think are offensive. And like the example I used earlier, like a man that has his, sleeves cut off and he shows
His armpit.
Armpit, and it's offensive, when it's 95 degrees outside,
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, what I think is offensive, you may not think is offensive. And, then we get into, are we going to start wearing uniforms?
Yeah, that's exactly where I was coming from. So now that you kind of explained that, it was a swift move, you signed all these ordinances.
Right.
In the future, how do you plan to prevent ordinances like this from being passed so that you don't have to go through all of this again?
I'm not going to sign ordinances the night of council meeting.
There you go. Wait till the next day, right?
Exactly. Sleep on it and then sign them the next day.
Get some coffee. Awesome.
Absolutely.
I am so glad to hear that. That's wonderful. We all have those points in our lives where we learn something from something that we do.
Right.
And you do things so regularly that you kind of get in a system.
Yes.
So I can understand where that happens. Just as long as, on August 5th, I'm really hoping a lot of our viewers come out.
I hope so.
And
I would
show you
invite them
support.
to come.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. Now, do you feel that this law, I think we kind of already covered this, but do you feel this law infringes on the rights of the citizens?
Yeah, I mean, I think I said in that ABC interview, it's like a freedom of expression.
Right.
I mean, I was out at the mall the other day, I did a radio show out there, and I saw 3 guys walking across the street, and they had long shirts on, but you could tell their pants were
like way below their knees.
Yeah.
Right.
But, I mean, the guy had on, like, orange, probably $100 Nike shoes, and it matched his shirt. I mean, as far as, like, colors, it all matched.
Right.
But that's the way he liked to dress. He wasn't showing any skin. He wasn't, but his pants were low. But he had them all covered up. I mean, his, back. So that's the way he wants to dress.
Then let it be, right?
Yeah, I mean, think about, I'm 59 years old. I mean, when I grew up, I mean, the Beatles came to America, and everybody went nuts. Look at those young boys' hair. Look how long it is. That's disgusting.
And now we're here, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're big. My son's hair when he was growing up was longer. But, turned out good. There's certain battles you pick and choose, and this one, just not a battle that,
It's worth it.
is worth it.
It's worth the fight for it.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's wonderful. Now, mainly, constituents who live in city limits that are concerned, and even people who live in the county who visit the city of Ocala often are going to be hopefully viewing our video.
Right.
Do you have a message that you want to send out to the constituents?
Welcome to one and all. I mean, this is a welcoming community, very accepting community. We love visitors. We love the people that are here. We're a community that when we have issues or problems, we always come together and discuss them and, agree to disagree on certain things, but we all, shake hands and, go about our business afterwards. And I think, this will probably be, one of those issues. So yeah, but, I encourage people to come, discuss it, talk about it at council meetings, and let your voice be heard. I mean, there are people that, died for your right to, have free speech. So come and express yourself.
We're still in a democracy.
Peacefully.
Great.
Peacefully.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. All right. So now I am sitting with the Councilwoman Mary Sue Rich, who, let's see, you've been on the City Council since 1995, correct?
Yes.
And also served in our county as in probation. Might want to clarify
For 27
there.
years.
For 27 years.
My career was in criminal justice.
Wow.
And 27 years as a correctional senior supervisor for probation and parole.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I do understand that you are also involved in a lot of cultural diversity organizations and things of that matter. So you really have a strong stance in the community.
Correct.
Wonderful.
I'm chair of the Racial Harmony Task Force, which is a group that we try to have things that would involve all cultures in the city.
Great.
We all get together. black,
Wonderful.
white, blue.
Whichever. It doesn't matter, right?
We
You have
all
a culture.
get together and we have a cultural festival. We have a singing group. We have a kids group where kids come and do all sorts of activities, dance, sing, do those types of things together.
Great.
And we have a prayer breakfast, which is not exactly what it sounds like. We don't just sit and pray. However, I try to get guest speakers that are very good and can talk about multicultural things, events, not just me. It's things that have occurred that involved other people.
Great, great. Now, what are your duties? What are some of your duties as a councilwoman?
Well, some of my duties are to make the laws and the ordinance for the city. We have to approve them, so that's my duty.
All right, great. So kind of just to observe and kind of go from there to make those ordinances and make them work for the safety and well-being of citizens.
Yes.
Gotcha. And what are your views on ordinance sections 1591 to 1599, also known as the Sagging Pants Law? I know they're probably vast, so.
Well, back in '09, I tried to get that ordinance passed because I don't know how long it's been a fad, if they want to call it a fad, but it hasn't gone away. And I never could figure out the advantage of doing that. If I could see, well, wow, that's great. They get a lot out of it. They get a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't figure that out. I've never seen anybody say, oh, because I wore my pants down by my knees, I got a job at First National Bank.
Right.
People are not going to hire me, you, or anybody that wears their clothes, their pants down by their knees, and all their underwear is showing. It's just disrespectful to them, to the people they're doing it to, and it should be disrespectful to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
We want Ocala to be a nice, clean-cut city. We don't want people passing through here and they look, going out 40, and they see 15 pairs of underwear on the way out there. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't think this was such a nice town because they believe that it's just, I don't know the word for it, but it's just not right.
Okay, all right. Perfectly understandable there. So with that being said, with people passing through, that's a main thing. A lot of people use State Road 40 to get to the beach or back and forth. So you feel that it almost has an economic impact on the image of Ocala. Would you agree with that?
I wouldn't go so far as to say that, but I think it eventually would.
Okay.
I haven't heard anything along those lines, but just me being a citizen of this city and being on city council, I think it could give us a bad image.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's see. Now, has the city council made any attempt to educate the public on the cons of sagging pants before making it a law, such as holding, community events that spoke on the matter, or letting the businesses know that it's their right to decline business to people wearing saggy pants and that sort of thing? Anything along those lines?
Well, it's not, no, we haven't had anything like that.
Okay.
But it's only on city property that violates the law. If they want to go in a grocery store or clothing store, anywhere, and the people allow it, that's them. But it's just on city property, on our playgrounds and the square. and things like that. It's not on private. We can't tell the people that own private businesses what to do in their business.
Of course not. Of course.
No.
Gotcha. All right. Now, has there been any other issues other than the Saggy Pants Law that the City Council has been working on recently?
No, that's the one that has the biggest impact, I would say, on people.
Okay. So nothing else regarding, I know there is the Ocala plan. I believe it's 2035, right?
Yes.
So nothing new there. They're just keeping on trucking with that group, right?
We're just working on it.
Very good. Very
Right.
good. Okay, great. Now, can you think of any other measures that City Council could have taken before making it law regarding the Saggy Pants? Like I said before, of course you can't go in and tell local businesses what they can allow in their stores. But, perhaps creating a program where you made signs for businesses that were in unison and said, hey, if you want a free sign, if you don't want people sagging their pants in your restaurant, which is a prime place that most people don't want to see somebody's butt crack. But if you don't want somebody sagging their pants in here, go ahead and put this sign up. We have them available to you. Things like that. Were any ideas like that passed in City Council before it became law?
No, but we might think about that at the next meeting.
Great.
But we haven't done anything about that. I personally hadn't thought about that.
Okay. So in that case...
But there is a store I know that has a sign on the door, no saggy pants allowed.
Good for them.
So,
Yeah.
I'm not the only person that doesn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not trying to profile. Some people say I'm trying to profile black young men. Well, if you look at me, what color do you think I am?
Right.
Why would I want to hurt my own race?
Right.
My grandchildren are black
Mm-hmm.
young men, and I want them to grow up to be respectable. And if we could count how many of those that have those pants sagging that have a job, I bet we'd be really, really surprised.
Yeah.
If they pull their pants up, they could get a job and take care of the children.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't be spending so much time in jail for child support, which is what they do. If you don't pay it for so long, they put you in jail.
Mm-hmm.
And then they take your driver's license, so you can't drive to work. So it's a no-win, no-win situation.
It's an escalation. Now, I will say, as far as people not getting jobs because their pants sagging, I agree with that 100%. It's unprofessional. If I went into a job interview with, a very, very low-cut shirt and bright red lipstick and my skin showing, my midriff showing, I would not expect to get that job, period. That's just something that's learned. It's temperament. However, in this county, a lot of the issue with jobs is, a respectable person has a difficult time finding a job. So either way, either side, I think it's, in some cases, a level playing field for everyone. But with all of that being said, on August 5th, do you as well welcome some other ideas other than, strictly enforcing the Saggy Pants Law, but other ideas that the City Council can utilize to reduce the sagging of pants in city limits and on city property?
We'll look at that, yeah.
Great. Some solutions, right? You don't want a bunch of complaints, some solutions.
And our police aren't going to just go riding around seeing where the saggy pants are. They all have sections of town that they work. And unless it's on city property, they're not going to say anything to them.
Very good. So there's no pants police, right?
No.
Yeah, okay. Very good. I'm glad to hear that.
They're not going to quit doing what they're doing, which is to police the area.
Yeah.
To
No
look at
rulers or anything like that.
Right.
Very good. Well, I'm super happy to hear that we're not going to have a strictly enforced, but has it crossed City Council's, I think of it, when you have an ordinance, there's somewhat of a brainstorming process. During that process, did it kind of, how do I phrase it? Has it been thought to just strictly enforce indecent exposure laws that already exist?
Run that by me again.
Has it already been thought of before this law was passed to simply strictly enforce the indecent exposure laws that already exist?
We hadn't thought about that in conjunction with the saggy pants, but it is in with that.
Okay, so it's along those lines
Yeah.
of indecent exposure, but it kind of creates an ordinance that is based on pants.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Now, do you feel in any way that this law might infringe on the rights of citizens?
No.
Okay. And is it more of a matter of opinion, or is it more of a matter of the safety and the well-being of this city that this law came to be?
It's more of the safety and well-being that this law came about. And you know, if the police get behind one of them and they got their pants sagging, 9 times out of 10, they're going to get caught. Because they can't run with these pants down by their knees.
Right.
If you see them in the grocery store, anywhere, they got to stop every few minutes and pull them up a little bit, but they keep them down. But, I mean, it's inconvenient for them.
Right. So would you agree that it's easier, you know, if somebody does commit a crime, per se, and they are sagging their pants, wouldn't it be a good thing? Wouldn't it be a safer thing if they could be more easily caught by the police because of their choice and style?
Yes.
It's ostensibly so. So if they're breaking the law by sagging their pants, right? Let's just, hypothetically speaking, let's say I was not a good person at all, and I'm downtown hanging out, and I'm sagging my pants. And I think to myself, after all of the articles that have been written and all of the Facebook posts and things like that, oh yeah, I can't sag my pants here. I'm going to get caught because I have something on me that I don't want the police to find out, right? So I pull up my pants. I still have something on me. The police catch me anyway. I run. Now my pants are fitted so I can run faster and I don't trip and fall. I mean, it's more of a matter of stupidity to sag your pants and try and run than it would be
To keep them up.
right.
If you know you have something on you.
So it almost, I mean, I don't mean to say it in the perspective, but it almost protects people who are committing crimes. Most people who sag their pants are people who are going to commit crimes. Like you said, they're not going to have a job. They're going to be doing things out of desperation, not realizing that if they just put a belt on, it might help, but they're going to be doing things out of desperation. So it almost is safer to know who those people are because they sag their pants and be able to catch them. Would you agree with that?
Well, yes and no. People that commit crimes don't think.
Right. That's why they commit
They
crimes.
don't think it out, you know. I'm going to go in this house and get this TV and this laptop, and I'm going to go sell it to Joe Blow, blah, blah, blah. They don't have that all worked out. The same as drug dealers in cars. 9 out of 10 of them get caught because they speed. Why would you speed down the street when you know you've got $10,000 worth of drugs in your car? If you drive a normal speed, you never would. And stop at all stop signs. Catch the green light. They never would get caught because that's the proper thing to do. But they're not going to do the proper thing. They're going to speed, run stop signs, and all sorts of stuff. And they're going to get caught.
Okay. So you almost feel as if the people who are committing crimes will disregard the Saggy Pants Law in general, and that's going to somewhat, if they are doing further crimes, it's going to make it known that they are.
They're not going to pull them.
They're not going to pull
Not
them.
necessarily. I'm in hopes of after someone, if they get stopped, and ask to pull their pants up, that they'll do so without an argument.
Mm-hmm.
So many times the police stop somebody, it's a long, drawn-out story.
Yeah.
Rather than, if you're wrong, be arrested and go and bail out. But they're going to give the police a hard time.
Right. Right. Of course. Perfect. Now, do you have anything else you would like to add to constituents? I'm sure that, I know you have a Facebook page as well, so I'm sure you keep track of what everybody's saying about this new law. And like I said, I really want to give constituents a chance to get to know you and know your perspective and where this came from. So anything you would like to add at this time is welcome.
This ordinance is not to profile any race or sex or anything. Boys and girls do it. All nationalities do it. It's just a law to try to clean up Ocala, so we won't have to worry about looking at underwear. I've looked at underwear. I don't know how long the fad has been, but it's been a long time, and it hasn't changed. And somebody said it was not a fad, a fashion statement for young black men. What is the statement? I would like to know. Maybe if somebody could tell me just how important it is to sag your pants. And if it's a fashion statement, I would like to know what the statement is and how is it helping them. What is it doing to help? But I think pulling up their pants will help them be more respectful and get employment, which is what they need. They say employment is down, and it is. But you ride around and you see different stores with hiring in the window. So if the saggers really tried, they could get a job if they straighten themselves up. I don't say you won't see any, but I bet you don't see a lot of doctors or lawyers, school teachers, CEOs, heads of department stores. You don't see them walking around sagging their pants. Mm-hmm. And they had to start at the beginning too. Mm-hmm. And work themselves up. So I don't think it's anything detrimental to the people that do that. I think in the long run they'll thank me after they get a job.
Great. Wonderful.